This is the recorded interview that we just promised you after Anthony left the studio. He was kind enough to stick around with us for our interview with Stuart Gordon, the director of Re-Animator, one of the writers of Re-Animator, one of the directors of the Masters of Horror Showtime television series, Black Cat, and one of the writers of one of my favorite children's films, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Thank you for coming on the show with us, Stuart.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here.
Stuart, why don't you talk to us a little bit how the H.P. Lovecraft stories kind of fell in your lap, because you were involved in a lot of those stories, like From Beyond and Re-Animator and Bride of Re-Animator.
I didn't do Bride Re-Animator, actually. That was Brian Usenet who directed that one. I only did the first Re-Animator film.
Ah.
But I've done 5 films based on Lovecraft's writing. I started reading Lovecraft when I was a teenager. And, he scared the crap out of me back then and still does.
What were some of the biggest challenges with the films, adapting them?
I'm sorry, what were some of the what?
What was some of the biggest challenges with adapting the films?
Re-Animator you're talking about?
Any of them?
Well, I think you have to find the right story. There's some of Lovecraft stories that are very internal, and those would be hard to adapt. But the ones I chose were the ones that had a lot of action in them, which I think is what movies are about. But picking the right story, I think, is half the battle.
One of your other films being shown at the convention is Dagon.
Yes.
Which Anthony knows a little bit more about than I do, because I'm not too familiar with that one.
Well, I'm familiar actually with the story. I've never actually seen Dagon, so I'm actually super psyched to see it at the convention myself.
Well, are you going to come and see it?
Yes.
I think we're both
Well,
going to come
good.
and see
Okay.
it.
Well, it's actually 2 Lovecraft stories that are combined. One is called Dagon, and the other one is called The Shadow over Innsmouth. I don't want to give too much away, but Innsmouth is my favorite of all the Lovecraft stories. So this is one I really wanted to do badly. And, I was very pleased with the way it came out. So I'm hoping, not too often that it gets screened. It's been on television a lot, but it's rare that there's a 35mm print screening of it. So I'm hoping a lot of people show up for that.
What did you think of the fact that Scream Factory took From Beyond, which had kind of a abysmal DVD release, and gave it such a huge treatment on Blu-ray?
Well, it actually, I thought it had a pretty good DVD release. We were able to restore that film. It was a movie that had been savaged by the MPAA, and I was able to put back all of the things that they made me cut out when we released it on DVD. But it really, seeing it in Blu-ray is the best way to see it, because it really captures all the vibrancy of the movie.
That movie was an absolute I thought that was a much more mega gore fest than the Re-Animator.
Well, it's definitely a lot stranger. We thought that we were going to be able to get away with more because we didn't have so much blood, but we had all of this slime. And the MPA said that's even more disgusting than blood, so it can't win, really.
One of your favorite little short films that you've done is Showtime's Masters of Horror Black Cat episode.
Yeah, I also did Dreams in the Witch House for the Masters of Horror, which is a Lovecraft story.
I'm not familiar with that one.
That was the very first Lovecraft story I ever read.
Awesome
And that one really stayed with me, so it was fun to be able to bring that to the screen as well.
Was that on season 1?
It was.
Ah, see, I only saw like a couple episodes of season 1, and then I got the Skull box set for season 2. But that...
check it out. I was pretty pleased with that one, too.
When The Raven came out, I said, why did they get Stuart Gordon to direct this? It would have been so much better. Because you also did The Pit and the Pendulum, right?
Yes, I did.
Which was a better a film in your opinion, the Black Cat or The Pit and the Pendulum?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I think that interesting to do because it's set during the Spanish Inquisition, so it was a chance for me to do something kind of a historical film. I did a lot of research on that. And I learned a great deal about how horrendous the Inquisition was. It started in 1492, and it was the same queen who sent Columbus off. Isabel of Spain is the one who started the Inquisition, and she would have been remembered as a much better queen if she hadn't done that. I think that the discovery of the New World brought a huge wealth to Spain, but at the same time they were doing these. It was kind of like Hitler in the Holocaust, and it went on for 300 years. It was a horrific period in our history, and it was to be able to kind of remind people of that. I thought was important. But the Black Cat, I had a chance to have Edgar Allan Poe appear in the story. We made it about him, and that was really, working with Jeffrey Combs and playing Poe was really a terrific experience, and enjoyed it so much that we ended up doing a one-man show theatrically called Nevermore, and that is going to be turned into a movie soon.
Wow, is that being directed by you?
Yes, indeed it is.
That's and Combs is playing Poe again.
Yeah, our plan is to do a Kickstarter campaign in October to raise the financing for it.
Yeah, I mean, just the way that you made it seem. I mean, the way Hollywood did The Raven compared to what you did in 50 Minutes on Showtime was, there's no comparison. It was just a little bit too glamorized in Hollywood for The Raven, and that actor didn't look anything like Edgar Allan Poe. But then Jeffrey Combs looked exactly like all those old school photographs of him look like, and that was just breathtaking. You did an amazing thing in 50 minutes that Hollywood couldn't do.
But the fact that they had John Cusack wearing a goatee, kind of amazed me. It's like everyone knows what Poe looked like. Why are they doing this? But we found out. I mean, it was a chance to really. Poe's own story is like it's just as tragic and disturbing as the things that he wrote. So being able to sort of intermingle his life with the story of the Black Cat really worked out well, I thought.
One of your film credits I just recently kind of learned about tonight was that you were the writer. Are you the writer or one of the writers on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yeah, that's right. I helped create it. It was me and Brian Usna and Ed Naha who were the three who created the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise.
I'd have to tell you that was probably the most watched family movie I watched in the early 1990s. Like school, and like every school I went to, like they would show it, and it was just always heralded as being this fantastic film, and it was complete for the time, and even today, special effects and everything about it are really hold up.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it was fun to work on it, and people are always saying, well, you're known for horror. Why did you do Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? And I have to remind them that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is a horror story.
Yeah, I mean, God, there was some freaky stuff in that when I was a kid. I was like, oh my God.
Giant ants.
The giant ants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Giant insect. It's got a mad scientist. It's got an experiment that goes terribly wrong. My kids were big fans of that Lily Tomlin movie, The Incredible Shrinking Woman. So I did this as kind of for them because I thought they would even like it better if the kids were the ones who got shrunk.
Anthony, what are some of the things that Stuart's going to be doing at the NecronomiCon?
Well, frankly, whatever he'd like to begin with.
What do you have scheduled for him to do besides present his movie?
That sounds good.
Well, we love. Obviously, we want him to present his movies and explain a little bit beforehand, like, hey, this is where I was, and like this is where my headspace was, and this is how much I'm super psyched to see Dagon, and specifically, he said he combined both Dagon and Shadow over Innsmouth, who are two perfectly interchangeable stories, so to speak, or like perfectly combined stories because it's the same sort of mythos there. It's a bit. We just want them to be there and have a good time, frankly.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you.
I
I mean,
haven't
we're
been to
psyched.
Providence in, I think it's, gosh, almost 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I'm really looking forward to coming back.
Of course. And we'll take you all the best restaurants. How's that?
Yeah. And it sounds like, that, all things Lovecraft are going to be going on that weekend.
Yeah, we're trying to make it as much of like a sort of a big crazy celebration as humanly possible. Like as much as we love the standard convention format, we kind of want to sort of bring it out into the streets of Providence, So we want to have random art shows and performances and the like, and
Yeah, it's going to be stupendous. And there are going to be there's a bust of Lovecraft that's been created for it's going to be unveiled at the festival, which I'm really looking forward
Yes,
to.
indeed. It's being dedicated over at the Athenaeum.
Yeah, because he's a man that doesn't really get enough love in Providence, I don't think. I remember when I was there, I saw the house that he grew up in, and there was no plaque on the house or anything. And, it was just, and I think they ended up tearing that house down, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like the house that he was born and raised in, like that he was first in, is actually now the location of the Starbucks down in Wayland Square, unfortunately. But
there's a story, the haunted Starbucks.
The haunted Starbucks.
It's funny you mentioned that. There's a TV series starting soon that I just showed the trailer to Pam for called Sleepy Hollow. A time-displaced Ichabod Crane points out that the what is now a Starbucks used to be a, what did he say?
The stables.
Yeah, it used to be at, like, Stables or whatever, and he goes, wait, there's another Starbucks. And she's like, yeah, there's one in every corner. Is that legal? But how often do you have an opportunity to sit there and watch the movie and have the director of the film, introduce it, especially like, these classic horror movies such as Dagon and what other film is he introducing? The only one I have here is Dagon. What other film is Stuart introducing?
I think that may be the only one, but although I'm not sure, but I think they may be showing the Dreams in the Witch House from the Masters of Horror possibly as well.
I'm not exactly certain what other movies he's. I only knew about the Dagon, but
but yeah, I've never seen Dagon, so this will be definitely a treat.
Yeah, no, I think it'll hang on to your hat. That's all I can say.
It was Re-Animator and it was The Evil Dead, which were always being heralded up as like the two goriest films of the 1980s. Do you love living with that title?
Well, I used to think we had the record for the most blood spilled in a movie, which was 30 gallons of blood. Until I met Peter Jackson and saw a movie he did called Brain Dead,
Dead Alive,
which
yeah.
he told me had 3,000 gallons of blood in it. So,
and
I've had to give up my my record on that one.
They showed Re-Animator at a film festival in Boston called the Sci-Fi-Thon, which happens every year in Boston. It's been going on for like 39 years, coming up in 2014. But at the 37th one, they showed Re-Animator, and my girlfriend at the time had never seen it. And she goes and sees this movie, and I was just like, oh, prepare for it. The end of the movie is not the best part. And she's like, why? What is it? And she's pretty, nothing kind of shocks her, and, she's pretty open-minded. But she was just like, holy crap, that head. I was just like, yeah, that's awesome.
Well, is she still speaking to you? That's what I want to know.
Oh no, yeah, we're not boyfriend girlfriend anymore, but we're still dating. But that's not but we didn't break up for many months after that. So, but that scene, Jesus Christ, that's like, where does that come from?
Well, it was really kind of a practical question that was being answered. I was talking to my friend Dennis Paley, who wrote the script with me, and we're saying, well, what this guy is, he's going around his own head. What is he going to do with this girl? So there seemed to be only really one answer, and that's what we did.
It was just the most wildest thing I had ever seen in my young adult life. And, everyone had talked about it. I was like, what is this movie? So I put it in, and I'm watching it, and I was just like, oh, this is pretty gory. And then, bam! And the score for Re-Animator is possibly one of the best, especially the theme song. It's one of the best opening theme songs I've heard in still a really long time.
He did a great job with it. Yeah, he did it as an homage to Bernard Herrmann, because it's very similar to the music that Bernard Herrmann wrote for Psycho.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted he wanted to have a little credit at the end that said, with apologies to Bernard Herrmann, but he ended up being left out of the end titles, and he's been taking heat from people for years for that. People thinking that he had ripped off Bernard Herrmann's theme, but it was really done as an homage.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I see some similarities, but I mean overall, it's I never consider it to be a ripoff. I definitely consider it to be an homage, but it's definitely got its own twisted, warped score.
And it gives you this playfulness to it that lets the audience know that it's okay to laugh. The movie's going to be funny too.
Definitely.
And I think I have to say, getting back to Lovecraft, that Lovecraft intended it to be funny as well. That people don't think of Lovecraft as being a laugh riot, but there are little jokes that's hidden in his stories, and the thing that happens in Re-Animator over and over again is whenever one of Herbert West's experiments goes wrong, he'll always say, guess he just wasn't fresh enough.
Was there any one particular Lovecraft story that you wanted to get adapted into a movie but just couldn't have it happen?
Well, there's one that I've been working on for a long time. It's a story of his called The Thing on the Doorstep. And we've just been having the hardest time getting that made. But, these things take time. They're not your typical slasher movies or things like that. They're so unique. And getting Dagon made took 15 years. So, I'm used to the idea that things take time.
What when you're not making when you're not working on movies, what do you? I mean, what do you? What as I always like to find out from any of the directors or actors we have on, when you're not making films, what do you? What do you do in your free time? What do you collect? What do you like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? Well, I like string sports. I like fishing, and I like flying kites and things. I like lazy sports where you don't have to do a lot of running around.
You like things that don't involve horror, bloodshed, guts, and gore, and decapitated head.
Well, fishing it has its moments, I suppose.
But I also direct theater, and we did a musical version of Re-Animator recently.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that came out quite well, and we did it in New York last summer at the New York Musical Theater Festival, and it was a big hit there.
That is freaking awesome. That is really cool.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with doing it on stage. And I'm working on a piece that's called Taste, which is based on a true story about a man who puts an ad on the internet for someone that he can kill and eat. And we're going to be doing that in April.
Wow.
With any of the
star is the same guy who's in Dagon, as a matter of fact, Ezra Godden.
Oh, that's cool. Who's the star of Dagon? I'm not familiar with the film.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Who's the star of Dagon?
His name is Ezra Godden. He's an English actor, although he does it all with an American accent, so you would never know that he was British.
Oh, that's like Christian Bale.
Yeah, there's also one of the greatest Spanish actors of all time is in it, Paco Rabanne, and it's fantastic. And it turned out that he was a big Lovecraft fan as well.
Cool.
It's kind of like, it would be the equivalent of getting someone like Sean Connery to be in your movie. He was just an enormous star, and turned out to be a fan of H.P. Lovecraft.
With all the conventions and festivals that you've gone to, what's one of the weirdest things that you've ever encountered with a fan?
The weirdest thing? Wow. Sometimes things do get pretty weird, that's for sure. I mean, I've seen people who have tattooed images from the movie on themselves. That's always kind of amazing to me, that they want to have something that permanent done. Things like that I find kind of, it's sort of like,
But never of you, right? Usually of Jeffrey?
Sometimes it's Jeffrey, sometimes it's the decapitated head, David Gale. It's funny, my fans are, they show up and they're all pierced and tattooed and, very, goth characters, and they'll always say, your films made me want to stay. And I was kind of, okay, all right.
Anthony, where can the people first expect to meet Stuart at the convention next weekend?
If not at the screenings specifically, then possibly at the Biltmore.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I think I'm on a couple of panels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
And you'll be meeting...
I'll be around. I'm looking forward to meeting people, and it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it'll be a...
We're fans of Lovecraft as well.
Yeah, it'll be a great honor to meet you in person, Stuart. Like I said, I've seen most of your films, and I've been... I think
say hello. I'm hoping that I get a chance to meet you all in person.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be there. Pam will be there. Of course, Anthony will be there. But Stuart, thank you so much for taking some time out to come on the show. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure. And again, I look forward to meeting you next weekend.
Me too. And on to Providence.
Providence, Rhode Island.
Sure.
Yep, at the Biltmore Hotel and where
The Hotel Providence.
The Hotel Providence and the Biltmore Hotel.
Black Box and RISD, and we're all over the place.
Yeah, so hopefully it'll be a nice, easy to go map. You'll have to stick around on Saturday, Stuart. They have the big water fire thing in Providence. I don't know if you've ever seen that before. You said it's been 30 years. I think this thing was invented in the late 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to stick around. They have the river in Providence is lit up with bonfires.
Really, they set the river on fire?
Well, it was a student's art project back in like the 1990s,
Not
and then
like Lake Erie.
no. But he basically came up with this amazing art project involving bonfires along the river. And the city bought it from them and turned it into this yearly event every summer, like twice a month, usually sponsored by somebody, so that way they can pay for all the fuel and everything. And they light up about 24 bonfires.
Oh, a lot more than that.
Yeah, and there's just like all over the river, and there's bands and there's vendors. It's Stuart. Again, if you haven't been to Providence in 30 years, you definitely have to come on Saturday. Walk through it.
And we're gonna have some special.
I'm looking forward to having some of the great seafood as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
The New England clam chowder.
Very, very much looking forward to coming.
All right, Stuart, again, thank you so much for coming on the show with us. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next weekend.
Allowing me to be on your show, and best wishes to all of you.
Oh, definitely. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Thank you very much. Take care.
And that was Stuart Gordon, director of Re-Animator, Black Cat, Dagon, writer of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which I still get a kick out of. He went from he did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids after Re-Animator, so it's not like he went from the kids film to the adult film. He went from the adult film to the kids film back to an adult film. And we'll be back with Pam and I's review of a couple of films here on Radio Horror 91.3 FM, WCUW in Worcester, Massachusetts.